Good morning, Shaklee family. We are in for a treat today. Thank you all for logging in and joining us. We are super excited. We have Pat Quinn and Pete Vargas from Advance Your Reach here with us today to help you perfect telling your story. And we couldn't be more excited for this opportunity for you guys. We know each and every one of you have an important story to tell, and we really want you to have the tools and resources available to you to perfect that story and share it with the world. So a couple of things before we get started. If you're joining us on Zoom, don't forget to change your chat feature over to panelists and attendees so that everybody can see your comments. If you have questions during the presentation, drop them in the Q&A, or in Facebook, drop them in the comments, and we might have some time to address a few of those later on in the broadcast today. If you don't know already, Pat Quinn and Pete Vargas are with Advance Your Reach, and they have taught coaches and celebrities and all sorts of professional speakers. And today they're here to coach each of you guys. So get your notebooks ready, get ready to take notes. We're super excited. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Pat and Pete, welcome. Pete, I think we're starting with you this morning.
Hey, let's go. Sorry. Hey, Dana, how are you?
Good. How are you, Pete? Good morning.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for having us. Hey, everybody, how are you guys doing? Everybody good? Dana, I'm good to roll, right? I just got my ear in, so.
Yep, you are good to roll. We're hearing you loud and clear, Pete.
Good, thank you so much. Hey, everybody, how are y'all? I want to know who's here with us. I can see all of you. Where are you chiming in from? I'm so excited about today. We got Austin, Texas. We got Tammy. We got Missouri. We got Canada, New Jersey, Minnesota, Connecticut, Florida, Lancaster, Alaska, California, North Carolina, Colorado, Montana, Pennsylvania. Look at all of these people from all across. Lot of folks in the States. That's incredible. Yes. I saw a few Canadians. Let me ask you a really important question today. Really important question. I'm so blown away that Shaklee does this type of thing for their distributors, that they make, like, it's crazy. You guys don't take this for granted. The fact that they invest in y'all like this is just unbelievable. But what allows it to have exponential results is not my teaching. It's not the fact that they got me. It's not Pat Quinn. It's not any of that. It's the intention that you have for our time together. So my question to you is, what is your intention? I'll tell you my intention for you in a minute, but I would like to know what your intention is for this story workshop. What is your intention? Yeah, because if you can be clear with that intention, we're going to get to it. And so my intention is to allow you to become a powerful storyteller that has people feel so connected to you that you are able to convert more customers and more distributors naturally, organically, because of the words that come out of your mouth. That is my intention for you today. That's my intention. Pete, if you don't know me, you might say, Pete, why do you care so much about storytelling? And you guys get the 1-2 punch today. You get two of us today. You get two unbelievable people today. But let me tell you why I care about storytelling so much. Why do I care about communication so much? Why? Because when I was 23 years old, I was sitting in a small little church in West Texas. I was sitting in a small little building. I had invited my dad to an event to hear somebody communicate. I'm 23 years old. And I'm asking myself the question, why did my dad do the things that he did to me as a young kid? And why hasn't he told me he's sorry? Why am I still 23 years old and my dad hasn't made amends with me? You see, my grandmother took me away from my dad when I was a young boy because of the things that he was doing to me, the way that he was treating me, the abuse that was taking place. She came and literally snagged me from his place while he had left me at a trailer all by myself when I was in second grade because he had to work the entire weekend and didn't have money for babysitting. She came in there, swept me away, and literally was the one that raised me. And now I'm 23 years old. And my dad's sitting in this building and he's hearing this speaker who's talking about his daughter, who was the first girl killed at Columbine back in 1999. And he begins to communicate. He begins to talk. He begins to share his story of his daughter who left her family with 6 diaries and a paper called My Ethics, My Codes of Life. It's what she stood for. She was convicted of what she stood for. You guys stand for something amazing here with Shaklee. You do. What an unbelievable company. My wife's maid of honor was just here, and her my wife's maid of honor told me, like, my mother, the products have changed and impact her mom's life. It's like, that is so cool. Both Kim and her friend Emily were just talking about the products back here behind my house this last week. You guys stand for something incredible. But the only thing that's separating you, in my opinion, from more people, not just knowing about it, because I'm sure you've told a lot of people, but more people being convicted about it, is the way that you communicate. You see, that man stood there and he shared his daughter's story. And he said, parents, on April 20th, 1999, I had no idea this was going to be the last day that I ever saw my daughter. He said, parents, I'm just curious, how many parents do we have out there? And how many kids do you have? Like, I want to put the number in the chat. I want the number in the chat. Got 2, 3, 4. I want to see, there's always that biggest number. I've seen 5. I've seen 7. 7's our winner so far. Don't put a big number just to lie here. You know, I don't want you telling me a white lie. I want you being honest. 7's the biggest number. 7 all grown. 8, we got 8. 8's our winner. And I didn't say grandkids. You see how some of you try to work it a little bit? I see you. Now listen to this. He said, parents, you have no idea the last day you have here on this earth with your kids. And he said, I didn't know April 20th, 1999 was going to be the last day that I saw my daughter. He said, I want to encourage you today. Go tell your kids how much you love them. And some of you parents need to go and ask for forgiveness of your kids for something you've done to them. He said, the hardest thing that I have ever done in my life is forgive the 2 boys who shot my daughter. But the most freeing thing that I've ever done was forgive the boys that shot my daughter. He goes, you want to go get some freedom tonight? Go ask your kids for forgiveness if you feel like that's calling to you. My dad came and he wrote me a letter and he said, I'm sorry for the father I've been. Here my son, because I was a youth pastor, here my son is having an impact on hundreds of kids' lives. And I can't have an impact on my only son's life. I'm asking you for a second chance to do things right. And he told me multiple times in that letter that he loved me. Me and my wife, believe my girlfriend at the time, she might have been my wife, were crying and weeping as we read that letter. Because finally, something got the attention of my father. You see, we had tried counseling for many years. That didn't get his attention. I would take him to church. That didn't get his attention. His 7 siblings, and his mom and dad would constantly tell my dad, you have to make things right with your son. Some of you feel like I'm constantly talking about the company and I cannot get the products and I cannot get people's attention. Well, my dad's own siblings and parents couldn't get his attention. None of that stuff worked. But finally, in 1 hour, something changed the game that for a decade, nothing else got his attention. You want to start getting people's attention? Become a powerful storyteller and speak to their hearts and not their heads. Too many people were trying to speak to my dad's head, and finally somebody began to speak to my dad's heart. They understood how he felt, where he was at in the journey. My dad knew that they knew what it was like to walk in his shoes. And when they grabbed his heart, when you grab somebody's heart, it opens up their minds to want to listen to you. And now their heads, their minds are open to listen. You see, his siblings and his parents were too busy speaking to his head and not storytelling to reach his heart. Not storytelling to reach his heart. So today, this is what we want to do. We want to help you reach the hearts of people. And we want to give you a trademarked framework that we trademarked, that nobody else in the world has, but yet it's the framework that the biggest names, the biggest companies, the biggest organizations, and now I'm stoked that Shaklee is one of those, use in this world to help you understand how to communicate more powerfully. I'm going to give you a framework, whether you have 3 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whether you're online, whether you're offline. I'm telling you, this framework that we want to share with you today will be a framework that will be game changer for you in the way that you communicate. Because I don't believe there is a more powerful tool that you have. No more powerful tool. Network marketing got me through college. It literally got me through college. This industry got me through college. No video, no three-way call, no meeting, nothing. Think about all of those though. Nothing is more powerful than communication, because think about what all of those have in common. Being a powerful communicator, being a powerful storyteller. And so here's what I want to share. And some of you saw this the other day, and I want to share this with you. Here's the problem that people in this industry and in many industries make. I call it the negative C's versus the positive C's. Shaklee, you are the first company, the first organization to hear this. If you can begin to storytell from this side of the diagram and not this side, it will change the game. What's the first C? Too many people in this profession communicate from a cheesy standpoint. A cheesy standpoint. I'm flying out today. We have had a profound and big impact on Grant Cardone's business, or on his events. We've come in and we've helped create his biggest and most profitable events ever. And as a result of that, that's him saying that. As a result of that, I'm going to fly later today to be with him for an event that's going on. Well, I was at an event of his in a workshop, and there were 30 people that had made a major investment to be in that room. And I asked them to make a 1-minute introduction. And the first girl that stood up, she makes a 1-minute introduction, and this is how she started. She's got 29 captive audience members that could be a customer of hers or a distributor of hers. And she starts like this. What if I could show you a way to make money and lose weight? That's screaming cheesy. That's screaming network marketing. That's like not the way to start your communication, especially with 29 customers and distributors. And so I paused her and I said, hey, sweetie, I can't remember her name. I called her by name. I said, are you in a network marketing company? Which, by the way, I'm an advocate for. It got me through college. It's a powerful, Shaklee is a powerful, powerful, powerful company that serves so many people and gives them an opportunity they would not otherwise have for their wellness and for their health and for their wealth. So she goes, how did you know I was in a network marketing company? And in my mind, I'm like, how did I not? I said, immediately the wall went up for me because I felt like I was about to be pitched. Do you like to be pitched? In the comments, do you like to be pitched? I don't like to be pitched. Do you like to be pitched? No, nobody likes to be pitched. But when the first thing that comes out of her mouth sounds like she's about to come pitch me, or it sounds cheesy, all of a sudden my walls went up. Everybody in the room's walls went up because they said, my wall went up, my wall went up. I'm like, no, that wasn't my intention. I'm not trying to attack her. I'm trying to help her understand that she can no longer do this. She cannot say it like that. And so we worked with her like we're working with you today. And the cheesy went from cheesy to connected. Because I said, you give me half a day with all of you. You give me half a day. You give us a day with all of you. We actually had 2 days. By the time she was done, her talk started like this. Ever since I was a young girl, I've struggled with my weight. Nothing has worked. And the way that has made me feel leading into my childhood, my teenage years, and my young adult years made me feel insecure, made me feel like I tried everything and nothing worked. Now, whoever she's talking to understands that she knows what it's like to be in their shoes. And she said, finally, I tried something and it changed everything for me. And I was able to lose this much weight and keep this much weight off. I became an athlete and did all these things. And there's a few things that allowed me to do that. Everybody's hearts touched. Everybody felt connected to her. They had goosebumps. Had she started that way the day, she would have had customers and distributors. But instead, she started from this column instead of this column. Be somebody, and you're going to learn how to connect today. Be somebody that connects, and that's not cheesy. The second thing is not to be one of those folks in this industry who are cocky. I don't want you to be that cocky person. And you've seen them. I've seen them. They're overconfident. And the last thing you do is connect. You don't connect with them. But I want you to be a communicator who has confidence. There's a difference between cockiness and confidence. I want you to be that communicator who's got confidence. Confidence, not cocky. And the third thing that I see, the negative C's, is a person who's cash driven. That means they see people like dollar signs. Don't be a person that's cash driven. Too many people, not just in network marketing, but in life, are cash driven. Be somebody that's compassionate driven. The difference is you see somebody that you want to impact. And yeah, the money will follow. It always does. The changes, the outcomes, the things that you want will always follow. The people who communicate from this domain and not this domain, game changer, life changing. And so this is what I want to do today. I want to help you understand, and my partner to help you understand what it takes to be a communicator that connects, that has confidence, and that comes from a place of compassion. And I believe that when you do this, when you talk and when you communicate, it will absolutely be the greatest recruitment tool that you have. It will be the greatest tool that gets your current team to want to take action. Whether you're trying to recruit or you're trying to get people to take action or you're trying to motivate your team, when you can become a powerful communicator, it's game changer. It's the one skill set that every one of the big name clients that we work with, every one of them, every company we work with says there's nothing more important. We believe in this so much, Shaklee, that I'm gonna ask you to write something down right now, because we can't get to everything in this hour. And I'm about to bring on Pat Quinn. We can't get to everything. And so I've asked the leadership at Shaklee, we actually have a course that we sell every day online, every day. And we want to gift that course to you. It's actually a paid course that will go further than what we're going today. It will be a supplement to what we're doing today. It would be your homework assignment. If you will go through this course, you could go through it in 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I want to gift that to you today, because what we're going to talk about today is part 1. And then I want you to go deeper in part 2. So write this down, advanceyourreach.com, advanceyourreach.com/Shaklee, advanceyourreach.com/Shaklee. And it's going to take you to a page and you're going to see that it's a paid product. And I want you to use the promo code Shaklee. It doesn't have to be all caps. So down at the bottom of the page, it'll say promo code. Write the word Shaklee in there and it will zero out the course for you. It will zero it out for you, because my intention advanceyourreach.com/Shaklee. Make sure you use the promo code Shaklee, because I desire for you to be an incredible communicator. So this is what I want to do with the remainder of our time. I'm going to bring Pat Quinn on. And Pat Quinn is literally the world's leading speaking and communication coach. And he's my partner. When we were in downtown New York with Damon John sat at the edge of his seat, writing notes as Pat spoke. Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins have brought Pat and I in to train over the year their entire team and all of their speakers and all of their trainers to become more powerful communicators, because they understand that this one skill set can change the game, and it will change the game for everybody here at Shaklee. It will. And so, Pat, part 1 of what we talked about is understanding the type of communicator that I want everybody at Shaklee to be. But now part 2 with the story braid framework is all about showing them how to do this. And so will y'all give a lot of love to Mr. Pat Quinn? Give a lot of love to Pat Quinn in the chat, guys. A lot of love.
Hey, thanks, Pete. It is great to be here, and I love helping people be the right 3 C's, not the wrong 3 C's. And I saw in the chat as you were talking about those 3 mistakes that people make, so many people were like, I do that. Oh, no, I do that. Oh, I'm guilty of that. And that's okay. That's okay if you've done that in the past. Our goal is that you don't do that in the future, because we want you to have the impact you can have on other people's lives. We want you to have the impact that you can on other people's finances and their health. And we want you to have the impact that you know you were put on earth to have. And so it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Pat Quinn. You know, a lot of people know me as a presentation coach, but I actually didn't get my start as a presentation coach. I got my start as a professional magician and worked magic for 10 years professionally. After that, I became a public school teacher and taught high school math for 12 years. During that time, I picked up an advanced degree in how adults learn. And so I really bring 2 things to the table. The first is a little bit of stagecraft from my years of doing magic, but the second is a real understanding of how someone hears you when you're talking to them, how someone listens to you and learns from you as you're talking to them. I only have one goal for you when you're in conversation with someone, and that is that that person would want to take the next step with you. Whatever that next step is, if that next step is to buy your product, if that next step is to join your team, if that next step is just to join your mailing list or take a free sample, I want that person to take the next step, and understanding what they're thinking as they listen to you is the key to that. I've been fortunate over the last 10 years to work with some of the greatest speakers in the world. I do work with Damon John and some of the sharks from Shark Tank. I've helped Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi and Grant Cardone and Michael Hyatt, and household names that everybody's heard. But most of the people that I work with are not professional speakers. Most of the people that I work with would not even consider themselves speakers. Most of the people that I work with are business owners, just like you, who want to grow their business, sell more products, attract new team members, and have an impact on the lives of others. And I want to show you today exactly how to do that without being cheesy, without being cocky, and without being cash driven. The method I want to teach you today is our 4-part proprietary process called the Story Braid Framework. The Story Braid Framework is a 4-part process for all of your communication. Whether you have 5 minutes on the telephone with someone, 30 minutes across the table at Starbucks from someone, whether you're on a Zoom call or you're at the sideline of your kid's soccer field and somebody asks you, what do you do? I want your communication to happen in 4 parts. This is the 4-part Story Braid Framework. The first of the 4 parts is to start with a story. And you saw Pete Vargas, the master of this, start today with a story. And I could see in the chat how that connected with you. The purpose of the opening story is to connect rather than to be cheesy. And so we want to start you with the right opening story and make sure that you have a great story to tell. After your opening story, the next thing that you want to do is teach a small amount of content. This is where we teach something to the person that we're talking to. We don't have to overwhelm them with facts. We don't have to overwhelm them with information and data, but we do want to help them. We want to give them a solution to something that they're struggling with. Because I know that when you help someone, even if you have 2 minutes, if you help them a little bit during those 2 minutes, they'll be more likely to come back and ask for more. And so understanding the purpose of each part of the communication is absolutely key. The purpose of the story is to connect. The purpose of the content is to help. Understand why you're doing each part of this communication. It's going to make a huge difference. The third thing that you want to do is a simple call to action. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that most people make when they're talking to someone else, whether it's one person or a group of people, one of the simplest mistakes that people make is to give more than one call to action. To get to the end of a presentation or get to the end of a conversation and say, now you can do this, or this, or this, or this. I see this on Facebook Lives all the time. People get to the end of a 5-minute Facebook Live and they say, connect with me. You can email me. You can direct message me. You can hit me up on Instagram. You can stop by my house. You can call me. They give like 7 calls to action. And nobody does anything because nobody knows what to do. The best conversations, the best presentations lead to a single call to action. I know you, and I know where you are right now. And for you, the next step is this. One next step, and make them say yes or no to that one next step. If they say no, you can always circle back and say, oh, that wasn't right for you, but maybe this is. And if they say no to that, you lead them to another one. But at that moment, at the end of that conversation, lead them to a single call to action. But don't stop there. A lot of people end their conversations and their presentations with a call to action. Terrible thing to do. Hurts your conversion rate every time. The last thing you should do is inspire them. You should inspire them if you have time with another story. If you don't have time with an inspiring statement, it can be as short as it worked for me. It can work for you too. Let's do this together. It doesn't have to be long, but you want to appeal to their heart. Sometimes we call this heart, head, hands, heart. Heart, because we connect with their hearts. Head, because we're teaching them. Hands, because this is where you take action. And heart. Heart, head, hands, heart. Each of them has a very specific purpose. And in the next 15 minutes or so, I'd like to walk you through each of these 4 steps and help you get better at each of these. So whether you have 3 minutes or 30 minutes, whether you're online or in the room with someone, whether you're talking to one person or a room full of people, you can be the most effective communicator so that you connect with people, you speak with confidence, and you show compassion all throughout all of your communication. The end result of this, more people are going to take the next step. If the next step is to buy some products, more people will do that. If the next step is to join your team, more people are going to do this. And the best part, would you see what I did there? I Scooby-Dooed you. If you have something really important to say, don't pound the table and be like, this is really important. Don't point your finger at the audience and say, this is really important. If you have something really important to say, look left, look right, and then drop your head about 6 inches, and everybody will lean in. Everybody will lean right into you, and they'll listen to what you say. We call it the Scooby-Doo. I think because that's what Shaggy used to do right before he'd walk down a dark alley filled with ghosts. But if you have something important to say, do the Scooby-Doo. You want to know the best part about this 4-part process? It works with your team as well. If you want to get your team having more conversations, if you want to get your team to attend a training, if you want to get your team to change any behavior, do something more, learn something, use this as well. It works for internal communication and external communication in all the communication that we do. And at the end, I'd love to coach 1 or 2 of you on telling your story. And so if you'd like to be coached on telling your story, you can raise your hand. You can put in the chat, I'd like to be coached live in front of everybody. Takes a little guts because we are going to have you tell a 2-minute version of your opening story. And you might have to have a little guts to do it. But you can raise your hand. If we have time, we'll do 1 or 2 of those and let people see what this looks like when we work with people. Let's go through the 4 parts right now. And if you have questions, there's a Q&A box. You can put your questions right in the Q&A box. And if we have time, we'll answer a few questions later too. Let's start with that opening story. The opening story should have 3 distinct parts. Now, I'm a believer that your opening story, you should have 2 opening stories. I'm a believer that you should have a separate product story, separate from your business opportunity story. The reason for that is because I know that the human brain tackles one problem at a time. Like in Pete's example, nobody is sitting around thinking, I need to learn how to lose weight and make money. The human brain doesn't solve 2 problems at the same time like that. It solves one problem at a time. And so if I'm solving the weight loss problem, I'm thinking about that. If I'm struggling financially, or I want to be part of something bigger than myself, or I want the freedom that comes with owning my own business, and I want to get away from my 9-to-5 job with my boss that I hate, I'm solving that problem. I'm not thinking about losing weight or being healthier, having more energy, or cleaning with clean products. I solve one problem at a time. Because of this, I think on any given day, you should choose if you're going to tell your product story or you're going to tell your business opportunity story. I think they're different stories, and I think they should be told on different days. Whatever story you're going to tell, it should have 3 distinct parts. There's 3 distinct parts to any great story. It only takes 2.5 minutes to tell a great story. Here are the 3 parts. The first part we call the before. The before is, what was your life like before? What was your life like before you had a solution to this problem? And so Pete talked about the fact that he had a bad relationship with his dad. People had asked him to forgive. And he'd tried church, he'd tried a whole bunch of other things, and his dad would not reconcile with him. Okay, that was the before. You get 60 seconds to tell us what your life was like before. And if you can break it down to 3 distinct characteristics, that's the best way to start a presentation. And so that's the before. The second part of any great story is your pivot. Something changed, something happened. You discovered something, you learned about something, you got introduced to something, you had a conversation with a friend. In Pete's story, his dad saw a speaker speak from the stage. His dad saw a guy, Daryl Scott, whose daughter was the first girl killed at Columbine. That's the pivotal moment in the story. You get 30 seconds to tell us about the pivot. Tell us what happened. A friend, I had a conversation with you. You went somewhere and learned about a product. Very simple. Sit 30 seconds, which brings us to the third part of a great story, which is the now or the after, if it happened a long time ago. What is your life like now? What has changed? You get 60 seconds to tell us what your life is like now, what has changed. And in the best stories, you'll break it down to about 3 characteristics of what's going on now. And so in Pete's story, he said now his dad has written to him a letter of apology. Now him and his dad get along. Now he helps other speakers have the impact on the lives of people, just like Daryl Scott had a life on impact on his. Now in the very best stories, this first characteristic becomes this first characteristic. This first characteristic becomes this first characteristic, and this first characteristic becomes this first characteristic. Now, let me give you an example of what this might look like with one of your products. And you can pick any product. You really can't sell 30 products at once. You can sell one product or talk about one product and story one product or a few products, but don't try to cover the whole gamut of all the products that Shaklee offers. Pick a group of products or pick up one small product. Let's say I have your 180 snack bar and I want to talk to someone about your 180 snack bar, okay? I might tell a story. Like for the last 5 years, I've really struggled with my weight. My biggest problem, snacking in the afternoons. Between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I can consume about 1,500 calories on any given day. And I'm still hungry for dinner, don't worry. And because of that, of course, I lack a lot of energy. I often want to take a nap in the afternoon. And even when I take a nap, I'm still tired. There it is, 60 seconds describing my life. Struggle with my weight, snack a lot, struggle with energy. Then a friend who I really respect and who I've noticed has been losing a lot of weight came to me and said, you know what? I think there's something that I do that you should try. It's called the 180 snack bar. And I said, well, I don't know what that is. I've tried other bars before and they don't taste good and they crumble all over the place and they don't help me with my snacking. I said, well, try the 180 snack bar. What's the worst that could happen? I tried it and oh my gosh, I eat them all the time now. And now, instead of gaining weight now here's the deal. For those of you that are new to this, you don't have to be a 10-year veteran with a life-changing 100-pound weight loss story. Watch what I do here. Instead of gaining weight, in the last 2 weeks, I haven't gained a pound. Or in the last 2 weeks, I've lost 1.5 pounds. I'm 2 weeks into this story. I haven't been doing this forever. I've been doing this for about 2 weeks. I have no customers, no team members. I've been doing it for 2 weeks, and I can still tell you this story. Instead of snacking every afternoon, now I make it from dinner all the way through, from lunch all the way through for dinner. Sometimes I'm not even hungry to have a big dinner. I eat less for dinner. And my energy level, woo, I've gotten more done in the last 2 weeks than I've gotten done in the last 2 months before. And so if you're struggling with this and you want this, do this. That is the perfect story. There's 2 ways you can get this wrong. What's the first way you can get this wrong? First way you can get this wrong is if this does not describe the person that you're listening to or you're talking to. If I say I'm struggling with my weight, I snack too much, and I have no energy in the afternoon, and the person who's sitting across from me says, well, I don't have any of those problems. It didn't work. It's the wrong story. You got to match your story to the person that you're talking to. And by the way, you'll know if this is working because if it's working, they'll be nodding their head and they'll be leaning in. By the way, it works online as well as it works in person. They will totally be nodding their heads and be like, oh, I snack too. Oh, M&Ms. I start the day with a bowl of M&Ms on the counter, and I promise I'm not going to add more M&Ms to the bowl. But by lunchtime, I'm usually adding more M&Ms to the bowl. Like they'll be nodding and leaning in. If they aren't, switch products or switch your story. The other way you can get this wrong is if this does not describe what they want. If I describe a life where I'm not gaining weight, where I'm not snacking, and I don't have any energy lulls during the day, and they're like, oh, I don't want that. Well, I don't know who doesn't want that. But if they don't want that, it's not going to work. When you describe this, they should be smiling. They should be nodding here, smiling here. But I'll tell you this. If this describes their life now and they're nodding, and this describes what they want and they're smiling, they will do anything to get the pivot. They will overcome all obstacles, push through all barriers. Price will not be a factor. Being inconvenienced, even if you don't give them a call to action, they will seek you out, hunt you down, find you, stalk you until you tell them how you did it. When you do the pivot, you don't have to tell them the name of your company or the name of your product. As a matter of fact, if you're on social media platforms, I would not tell them the name of your company or the name of your product. I would just say a friend introduced me to a new bar or a new energy thing, or I tried something new, and I would just leave it at that and make them reach out to you, make them contact you and ask, what is it? How did you do it? And they will. If this describes them now and this describes what they want, they will reach out to you. Now picture how this would look with your business opportunity. Describe your life before, whether that's a financial story, we struggled to pay the bills, we weren't saving, whether that's a freedom story, I hated my job, I wasn't going to be able to be present with my kids, whether it's a contributing to the family finances story, I felt like I wasn't a contributor, there had to be more to life than what I was doing, whatever the story is, whether it's a community story, I was lonely, I didn't feel supported. Then a friend talked to me, invited me to a meeting, invited me to a webinar, whatever. And today, instead of struggling to pay the bills, I have money to pay the bills. Instead of hating my boss, I am my boss. And instead of not feeling like a contributor to my family, I feel like I'm a 100% contributor and equal partner in this family finances. Whatever the story you want to tell it. And if they're nodding here and they're smiling here, they're going to join your team. Now, if they aren't struggling financially, pivot and tell a freedom story. If they don't struggle with their 9 to 5, pivot and tell a community story. There's so many benefits to being on the team of Shaklee. You can tell a whole bunch of different stories. You can tell a financial story, a freedom story, a contributing story. You can tell a change the world story, help your friends be healthier story. You can tell a community story because so many lonely people just need community of support that Shaklee provides. There's so many stories that you can tell. Just match your story to theirs, get them nodding, and that is how you start the perfect conversation. Now, when you're talking to someone, I want you to help them. I want you to give them 1 or 2 things that will actually help them. If you're talking to them about their health, give them some health things. If you're talking to them about cleaning, give them some cleaning tips that will help them whether they do business with you or not. Whether they ever sign up for products or to be on your team, help them. Part of doing this is to show them your heart. Your heart is not to sell them, make money off of them. Your heart is to help them. And help them for free, help them early, help them often. If you help them, trust me, they'll come. People ask me all the time, well, Pat, if I actually help them, why would they sign up? They just come back to me for more free stuff. That's not true at all. When somebody helps you without asking for anything in return, you want to do business with them. You want to go further with them. There's a human dynamic called reciprocity that when somebody helps you with no questions asked, no financial obligation, when somebody helps you, you want to help them back and you want to go further with them. This is where you show your true servant's heart. This is where you show your true servant's heart. So you connect here, you help here, which leads you to a single call to action. For most of you, I think you want to have your single call to action in the beginning to be a conversation. Let's schedule a conversation. Let's schedule a time to talk about this. And if they're being like, just tell me the name of the bar. Be like, I don't want to share something with you because we don't have enough time to talk about that today. Let's pick a time when we have enough time to talk about this. I want to share it all with you. If it's the business opportunity, let's schedule a time to talk. Let's schedule a time to talk. Your goal is conversations. All of business happens around Now, how are you going to structure that conversation? When you do get them on the phone, or you do get them at Starbucks, or you do get them at your kitchen table, how are you going to structure that conversation? Start with a story, help them solve a problem, and give them the next call to action, which might be to buy some products or might be to sign up to join your team. And never end there. Never end there. Why don't you end with your singular call to action? Remember here, we're only going to have 1 call to action. Why don't we end there? We don't end there because there's 2 types of decision makers in the world: tactical decision makers and emotional decision makers. This is tactical. This is what you should do next. You should sign up. Here's some paperwork. You should buy a starter kit. Can I have your credit card? It's very tactical. But half of the people that you talk to are going to be emotional decision makers. By the way, I can always tell which type of decision maker you are when I hear you speak, because most people sell the same way that they make decisions. If I'm listening to a tactical decision maker tactically sell, it's all tactics. They're like, hey, it's a 12 pack of bars. Each bar has 184 calories. Each bar also has 15 grams of protein. And you can either sign up to buy a 1-pack, or you can buy a renewal where I send you a box of them every month. It's tactics, 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 tactics. And you're leaving the emotional people high and dry. By the way, if you are an emotional decision maker, all you will do is talk about emotions. You are going to feel so good when you sign up. It is going to change the way you wake up in the morning. It's going to change the way that you go to bed. Once you know this, you can tell when you watch any speaker. And I can prove this to you. Why don't you in the chat right now tell me whether you think Pete Vargas is an emotional decision maker or a tactical decision maker? You got to see him speak for about 20 minutes. Do you think he's an emotional decision maker or a tactical decision maker? And you are 100% correct. Those of you who responded, he's an emotional decision maker. You can tell at the moment you hear him speak. You can probably guess which one I am just by the fact that I lay things out in rectangular boxes and give you steps every single step of the way. You can tell that I'm a tactical decision maker, which is why we come on here today. But here's what you need to do. And here's what Pete needs to do if he's alone speaking. And here's what I need to do if I'm alone speaking. I need to get good at both of these. Because if all I do is tactically tell you what it is, I'm going to leave 50% of my audience behind, 50% of my revenue behind, and only have half the impact that I was put on this earth to have. But if I can get good at both of these, if I can get good at telling you what it is and telling you how it will feel when you do it, that is going to make all the difference in the world, because the other half of the audience is going to come along for the ride. And so that, and by the way, if any of the people you talk to need the approval of their spouse to sign up and join you, you should know that most married couples are one tactical decision maker married to one emotional decision maker. And you have to get good at both of these, or you're not going to get a yes from anybody, because you have to convince both people in your process. And so that is the last thing that you should do, is your emotional close. And so when you put the 4 parts together, you've got a story to connect, content to help people, a singular call to action so they know what to do next, and a closing heart, head, hands, heart, to get the emotional people to come along for the ride. Whether you have 3 minutes or 30 minutes, this is the format that you should use. Every conversation. First time you meet somebody, do this. First conversation, first appointment, whatever you call those, do this. When they've used your products and love your products and you're ready to talk to them about joining your team, do this. And when you're talking to your team and want to get your team to come to the next event, do more of this, participate in this challenge, show up to the big training, do this. This is how you move people to take action. And it will change everything in your business. It'll change the amount of product you sell. It'll change the number of team members that join you. Most importantly, it'll change the impact that you have on the lives of others. So, all right, I want to bring up 1 or 2 people to coach. Dana, you were going to bring up some people. Did you promote them already? Are they ready to go?
Yeah, I've got 2 people on deck for you. First up is Karen Grant from Vancouver, BC. She's a master coordinator with Shaklee, and we're super excited to have you coach her live.
Hey, Karen, how are you?
Terrified.
Well, don't be. I'm your biggest fan, and you've got a room full of people who are your biggest fans right now. Give some love to Karen in the chat. Cheer her on. Karen, I would love to hear this opening story. You know, that you have about 2 minutes. When you have 2 minutes just to share with somebody a little story like that, I'd love to hear a little bit of your story. If you would share that with everybody, and then I can tell you for everybody all the things that you did right, and we'll learn from you if you have a little story to tell us.
Sure. I'm a Shaklee kid. I grew up in a Shaklee household, and I lived my life and got married and raised a family, came back to Canada, and the company I was working for filed for bankruptcy. And at that time, actually, it felt a lot then like it does now. And that was when I decided to build my Shaklee business, because I loved what I was doing, but I wanted to do something that had impact and to provide for my family. So right now I'm looking for a stay-at-home mom who would like to have flexibility to build her business around her family. Do you know anyone like that? So then I have to do something inspirational at the end. I think what I've loved most about working with Shaklee is that I've had impact beyond myself and beyond what I thought was possible.
I love it. I love it. Hey, give some love. Give some love in the chat. Karen, I know how hard it is to go first. You never know if you're going to get yelled at. And you're here in front of all of your peers as well, which makes it even more high pressure. But I tell you, this is a room full of fans and a room full of people who are cheering you on. And I just love the fact that you went first. So I love your story because it's such a connecting story. And I think you recognize that this is a huge connecting story in the year that we're in right now and the actual moment in time that we're in right now. And it's a huge connecting story for a couple of reasons. One, because you were with a company that declared bankruptcy, and so many people are with companies now that are less stable than they were prior to this. And second, because you had this yearning inside to have a greater impact. And I think at this time in our lives, when the world starts to open up again, I think there's just a bunch of people who've been like, okay, I've spent a year looking at myself. Now I want to get out there and change the world and have a greater impact in the lives of others. So I just think for those two reasons, this is the story for this year. And this is the story of this time. Every detail in your story either connects with an audience member or separates. Every time you tell a detail, it either connects or separates. So I was coaching someone the other day, and they started their story by saying, I graduated from Harvard. And I said, why don't you say that you graduated from college? Because when you say you graduated from Harvard, how many people can be like, wow, you're just like me? Very few. But when you say I graduated from college, you open it up to millions of more people. And so you actually start your story by saying, I was a Shaklee kid.
Yeah.
Well, that connects you with anybody else who's a Shaklee kid.
Okay.
But I'm not a Shaklee kid. So that detail actually separates you from me.
Okay.
So you have to ask yourself when you're speaking to any person, what would connect me with them? And what I think the obvious answer here is, I was working for a company in whatever year it was. And that company was struggling financially. That left me wondering what my future was going to be like. And now think about, what would somebody who today is with a company that's struggling, maybe a restaurant worker, maybe a single mom whose husband works for any company in the world, because every company in the world is a little unstable right now. Like, how would that, we didn't know what our future would be. We didn't know what our finances would look like. Mm-hmm. And we knew that the economy was, up and down. Now you've connected with just about every living human being in the world. And I love the second part of it. I felt this need for an impact in other people's lives. I didn't want to just look inward anymore. I wanted to look outward and impact the lives of more people. Now you've got the person in front of you being like, oh my gosh, Karen's just like me. My husband has a job, but we never know how long they're going to last. I used to have a job at a restaurant, or I used to work before I became a mom, and whatever it is that we're looking at here. And then you got introduced to the opportunity. And today, instead of wondering about your financial future, you control your financial future. Instead of working for a company that declared bankruptcy, you're working for a company that's growing and impacting more lives every single day. And instead of wanting more impact, you're having that impact. That's an amazing story. And that's a story that's going to just get people time and time again to sign up and say yes. How's that sound?
Thank you so much.
I love it. And I appreciate you going first. I really do.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Keep telling your story. That's the most important thing. Dana, we got time for one more, I think.
Perfect. Great job, Karen. You were awesome.
Give some love to Karen.
Yes. All right, Janice Gallup, we have from Colorado. She is a senior director with Shaklee, and super excited for her to join you here, Pat.
That's awesome. And Janice, before you go, I just want to say to anybody who's watching this, who is not a senior anything and is not a super coordinator or whatever Karen was, I don't know all your terms. Like if you just started with Shaklee a week ago, or you've been doing this for a year, but you still don't have any customers and have any distributors,
Yeah.
it's okay. This still works. You can do this. You have a story to tell. The story doesn't have to be, I've been doing this for 20 years. The story can be, I've tried one product for a week and I love how it's working for me. I have a new attitude. I have a new confidence. It doesn't, so I just want to encourage that. We brought up two people today that have been doing this and have risen through the ranks and have become leadership positions here. But I want to encourage everybody who's watching this. And I want to encourage all of you who have team members who are brand new or who have been around 6 months and really haven't gotten any traction. This works for them too. This is actually the key to them getting their first customers and their first team members, is getting good at this one skill. And so I just want to encourage everybody who's just getting started, even though we have two super experienced people here. So how are you today? Are you doing well?
I'm doing great. This is a surprise, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So you just want me to go ahead and just tell my story?
Yeah. Give us a 2-minute version of it.
Okay. The 2-minute version is I've been with Shaklee, my family and I, for 46 years. And so we have raised 2 Shaklee children, and they were both athletes. And now we have grandchildren that are Shaklee kids. But my story is just that because of the products and because of the opportunity and because of the organization that we're in, that we have grown, we have grown just personally, we have grown financially, we have grown, and I'm talking about we, my husband and I, and have kept healthy all these years, where we have friends that just are not in that position. And, as far as the products go, we can't say enough good things about them. But as far as the opportunity goes, it's just, I call Shaklee my option business. It gives you the options to stay healthy. It gives you the option to be financially free. It gives you the option to meet the coolest people in the world and to travel when you want to. So Shaklee is my option business, and I just enjoy anybody that wants to come along for the ride. Woo! So that's part of it.
I love it. And I appreciate you sharing that. You've told this story, and you've told stories like this to a lot of people, and you've impacted the lives of lots of people. So 46 years, wow. One thing that you did, Janice, that a lot of people do is say, my story is just that. And anytime you put just with your story, I just do this, or I just do this, you're already lowering the value of it. Like,
got it.
You probably don't even realize that you do it, but
no.
The brain wants to downplay the story because we don't want to be braggers, because we've been taught our whole life not to brag.
Exactly.
You have an amazing story. And what I want everybody to hear who's watching this is that you don't need the story of being cured from the rarest disease. You don't need a story of having a private jet. The best stories are ordinary stories. The best stories are stories of going from a lot of credit card debt to less credit card debt. The best stories are going from, saving for a house to being closer to that house. It's not from being broke to having a 42-room mansion.
Yeah.
The best story is, worrying about saving for my kids' college and now being able to put a little bit away each month for my kids' college. You don't need this broke to millionaire story. And so your language is so good that you have an option business. And if I were going to change your story at all, I would just, when you're talking to someone, I would think about, do I want to talk about the options that the products give us?
Yeah, exactly.
Or the financial opportunity here. But I love the options business, because you can tell in so many different ways. You can say, and this is why this is so perfect for this time, Janice, is because the world is out of control. And there's been a lot of research, specifically Jonathan Marks' Nobel Prize paper on economics, that talks about how when the world gets out of control, people look for control in any way that they can get control, whether
Right.
that's being able to control what your cable bill is, or being able to control what we're putting in our bodies, or what products we're cleaning in our house, cleaning within our house. We want control because there's so many things we can't control. We can't control the crazy politics. We can't control the economy. And we certainly can't control this pandemic. So what can we control? Well, there was a time when I felt like I couldn't control my health, or I see people who feel like their health is out of control. There's a time when I felt like I couldn't control, where I can get products, because I'd go to the store and there wouldn't be any products on the shelves. And there's a time when the whole world fell out of control in the last 12 months. But there are options. I have what I call an option business, which means instead of my health being out of my control, I can actually control my health. Instead of not having control over the products that I bring into my house, I have control over that. I love the fact that I didn't used to be able to travel. Now I have options. I can travel. Like, you've got such a great story here, and you can adjust it for the person. One thing that I encourage everybody to do before a conversation is do a little research on the person that you're conversing with.
You're right.
If a friend introduces you, a friend called me the other day and said, "Hey, I think Diana would be perfect for you." I hit up Diana and I say, "Diana, you want to have a conversation?" Diana says, "Sure. Let's talk on Tuesday." Between now and Tuesday, I want to call my friend and say, "What do you think Diana's struggling with? Is Diana struggling financially?" They're like, no, she doesn't really struggle financially. Her family has money. So what is she struggling with? She's a mother of 3, and I think she's just stir crazy just having the kids. Like, she thinks there's more to life than being a mom. Well, that's going to change the story I'm going to tell. Now the story I'm going to tell is a story about, being a mom and thinking there's got to be more out there. Where if you would have told me that she's struggling financially, or she might tell me, hey, she's like obsessive about not having chemicals around her house. Like, she won't come over to my house because I use Roundup. And I just use Roundup to get rid of the weeds, but she won't bring her kids over to my house. Well, then what should I talk to her about? I should talk to her about the ingredients in our products. Or a time when I was worried about that, and now I'm not worried about that because somebody introduced me to a company that has clean products and has products that we know actually what's in them.
Exactly.
Do your research. I call it stalking, but that's probably not the nice word. I call it stalking the person I'm going to have the conversation with, so that I can get them nodding here, get them smiling here, and get them to say yes at the end of the conversation. Exactly. Give some love to Janice. Woo!
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate the opportunity. So I want to wrap this up by telling you a few things. And Dana, I can answer a couple questions, or if you want to wrap this up, I'll leave that up to you. I do want to remind everybody that we are making our Communicate to Convert masterclass, which is a real short online course. It doesn't take 12 weeks. You could do it this afternoon. Our Communicate to Convert masterclass is available to everyone. The website is advanceyourreach.com/Shaklee. So just go to advanceyourreach.com/Shaklee. And there's a price on the course. It's not a free course, but for you it is, because you're going to use the coupon code Shaklee. And when you use the coupon code Shaklee, it's going to be absolutely free for you. There it is. Susan just put it in the chat. Advanceyourreach.com/Shaklee. Use the coupon code Shaklee, and that'll make the price go to $0. And you'll be able to go deeper into all of this. Pete and I teach all about how to have these conversations, drive people to action, and make a huge difference in your business and the impact you're having on others.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Pat. I really appreciate all the time you took with our audience today. We will ask you a couple of questions if we've got a couple of minutes for that. I think we've got some good ones here in the Q&A. So one question I have from Carlos Cortez is, how do I match my story to my listener?
Yeah, and Carlos, I talked about that just a moment ago. I think you want to do a little research on your listener. Now, some people would go on Facebook and stalk them, but I think, if somebody introduced you to this person, and I'd go and ask them, like, what do you think? What do you know about them? Or what are they struggling with? Is it the financial story? Is it the freedom story? Is it the clean ingredients story? Is it a health story, a weight story? What are they struggling with? Now, here's the other thing you can do. Sometimes you'll get in conversations with somebody you've never met before. And so I call this fishing with many poles. I start to tell a story and I watch for a nodding head. I don't know about you, but I always struggle with my weight and I always struggle with snacking. And so watch their body. If they nod and lean in, go down that road. If they're perfectly still or they lean back and fold their arms, try something else. You know, for me, it's really about energy. I don't get as much sleep as I used to because, well, nobody gets as much sleep as they used to. And so sometimes I wake up tired. Even I come back from the weekend, I'm still tired. Watch. Are they nodding? Are they leaning in? If yes, go down that road. If no, try a different road. But really what worries me the most is the chemicals that I'm exposing my family to. Because, you know, I read every day articles about people who have a cancer or people who struggle with allergies to things they don't even know they're bringing into their home, sometimes in their cleaning products, sometimes in other things. And watch. You can adjust this story as you go. And then when you get one that's working, when you get one that they're nodding, then go down that road, finish the story, or talk about the pivot, finish the story over here with the opposite of this. And trust me, you'll have them. You'll have them right away.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question I have over in Facebook is this a formula that you can use to do a Facebook Live? And if so, are you trying to target more than one person? And how do you formulate your story in that case?
Wow, great question. And absolutely, yes. This is the formula for all communication. So if you have an email newsletter, this is what every email newsletter should look like. If you have a Twitter feed, this is what your Twitter feed should look like. If you have a presentation, this is what it should look like, a conversation. And if you post on social media, whether that's a text post or a Facebook Live, this is what it should look like. So if I had to do a 3-minute Facebook Live, I have a wide audience. They don't all have the same problem. So I would pick today, what problem am I going to solve today? I'm going to say, okay, today I'm going to solve gut issue problems. And so I'm going to say, hey, I don't know about you, but some days I wake up and I just feel bloated. That's how I felt today. I felt like somebody had blown up a balloon in my stomach and I just, it was awful. And when that happens, I know that I'm not the only one who struggles with that. I feel just like I only want to wear sweats that day. I don't want to leave the house. I just feel like blah. And for years, I struggled with that. Then somebody introduced me to a product called the Vitalizer. And the Vitalizer not only helps me with my gut issues, it helps me with all the energy issues that I'm having and some of my weight issues as well. I love it. You know, one of the things you have to be careful of with bloating is that you might have a food allergy and you want to make sure you know the ingredients in every single thing you put. So read the backs of those products, people. Don't just go buy a bar at Costco or get one of those shakes that your friend sent you and you don't see any of the ingredients on it. Read the ingredients on everything that you put into your body. If you want to learn more about reading ingredients and what ingredients you should avoid, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Or if you're bloated and having the same issues I did, I'd love to tell you how I solved it. So message me in the Facebook Messenger. I'd be happy to set up a time to have a conversation with you. Most importantly, know this, that when you're having a bad day because you're feeling gassy or bloated, you don't have to live life like that. I avoided going to movies. I avoided going to the theater. I avoided going out on so many dates because I didn't like the way I felt that day. And there's more to life than that. You don't have to be held captive to how you feel with your gut issues. You can solve this. I can help you. Hit me up on Messenger. I'd love to talk to you more about this. So what did I do then? I picked one problem. I taught one solution. I had one call to action. And I inspired you at the end. And get out of there. Notice I did not say the name of my product or the name of my company. I said Vitalizer, which I would not do, because if you say the name of your product, they're going to Google it. They're going to find it on Amazon. They're going to find it from somebody else and you're going to lose them. You want them to come to you because you want it to be a larger conversation. You don't want transactional relationships. You want lifetime relationships. And lifetime relationships don't begin with a credit card swipe. They begin with a conversation and a connection. And so you don't want them Googling everything and finding it other places. So I'd be very vague about it until you're in conversation with it. Then I'd be very specific about it. Now, You might be like, well, our company is so much bigger than than gut issues. Our offer is so much bigger than gut issues. The beauty of Facebook is that it's there every day. Tomorrow I can go on Facebook Live and talk about how for years we struggled with credit card debt. And we finally figured out that there's a solution to credit card debt, and that is to make more money and control your own financial future. A friend introduced us to that, and I'd love to talk to you about that if you want to learn more about that. Number one thing we learned is that it makes sense to pay attention to the order you're paying off your credit cards. Look at the different interest rates and pay off the high interest rate credit cards before you pay off the low interest rate credit cards. If you want to learn more about how we got out of our financial situation, why don't you hit me up? You can email me at this address, and just know this. You don't have to be a prisoner to your credit card debt. We had over $100,000 in credit card debt, and now we've got that down to less than $10,000 in credit card debt. And we're on track by the end of 2021 to have zero credit card debt. It worked for me. It can work for you. Let's have a conversation about this. I can do that tomorrow. And then on Monday, I can do one about weight loss. And on Tuesday, I can do one about cleaning products. And on Wednesday, I'm telling you, you can do a Facebook Live Shaklee has enough products. You can do a Facebook Live every single day. And you can alternate with the opportunity, which one day could be a financial story. One day could be a community story. One day could be a freedom story. One day could be a contributing to the family finances story. You've got so many different stories to tell. And the beauty of Facebook Live is you can tell a different story every single day. So Robin asked, should your Facebook Live be in a group or on your main page? You can alternate. Your main page will expose it to new people. A group will have, Facebook will actually show it to everybody in the group. When you do it on your main page, it doesn't show up to everybody. You can alternate those. And again, my advice there is not to name the company or the product. That's not going to serve you well. That's not going to help you. What's going to help you the most is getting them to have a conversation with you. And you want to force them to ask what your pivot was in most of those situations. So great question.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. Really appreciate it. We have had a great time here with you today. And I love that you talked about not mentioning Shaklee and not mentioning the products. This is something my training team talks a lot about, especially with our Shaklee Share App tool. We have a lot of posts there that do not have an image of the product, don't have the Shaklee logo. And the point of that is to create curiosity. You want people to be curious about what you're talking about and for them to come to you for more information, like you said, instead of seeing the product, Googling it, and finding another way to purchase it. So I love that you've reiterated that here for us. Really appreciate your time today. And thanks for answering some questions and for coaching our people. And this has been invaluable. I think it's going to be very fun to see everybody's stories come next week.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. Two final things I would say here at the end. First, if you want to go deeper and you want to learn more and you want something that you can share with the rest of your team members, go to advanceyourreach.com/Shaklee and you can sign up using the coupon code Shaklee, and all of your team members can do that as well. The second thing is just keep telling your story. When you tell your story, other people know that they are not alone. When you tell your story, other people know that there are real solutions out there. And when you tell your story, other people know that there is hope. So just keep telling your story. Thanks for the opportunity, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys for attending with us today. Thanks to Pat and Pete again for being with us. I've seen quite a few questions in the chat and over on Facebook Live about how to get this extra course that Pat and Pete have told us about today. If you guys give me just a few, I'll post a video into the Shaklee Effect of me registering for that extra course so that you guys can see click by click how that happens. So check out the Shaklee Effect Facebook group a little bit later today if you would like to see how to do that. I'll run you through. And then just to take us out, Kathy, if you could pull up my slides, I just want to reiterate that, the reason that we're helping you guys tell your story is because you have this powerful tool ahead of you, and that's 2-in-1, right? Sponsoring 2 new members and 1 new distributor every single month to help you meet some of these incredible incentives that we've got available for you. The first one, if you do 2-in-1 every month, you're gonna get the Star Club bonus, $75. That's amazing. And from there, you're gonna qualify for our quarterly incentive. Our new quarterly incentive started 10 days ago. You've got April, May, and June to complete that. And your prize is a storytelling package because we want you to have all the tools necessary to tell your story. So you're getting a gimbal with face tracking ability so that you can walk around and tell your story in an animated way, plus a professional mic and a light and tripod and lots of goodies. You're also getting a private concert with Colby Calais if you qualify for this quarter's quarterly incentive. So that's pretty incredible. And if you do the quarterly incentive, so you do the 2-in-1 every month, you're getting Star Club, you're getting the quarterly incentive. If you do that all 4 quarters of the year, you're coming on our Star Club trip with us to Playa Mujeres. It's going to be amazing. We're super excited. I want to see all of you there because I really want a chance to sit down with you all and hear your stories after today's coaching. So really, really work towards that. And if you're doing all of this consistently month after month, you're also going to see rank advancement and growth in your business, which is the goal for everyone, right? And with rank advancement comes the 21K in 2021. So you have the ability to earn up to $21,000 in bonuses this year through rank advancement, right? And not only are you going to earn these incentives, the short-term and the long-term incentives, but you're going to be growing your business. And really the whole reason that we want you to be able to grow your business is to fulfill your dreams and help other people make healthy happen. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in with us. I can't wait to hear some of your stories. If you post them on Facebook, shoot them over to me. Tag me in a comment on your story or shoot it over to me in Messenger. I'd love to see all of your stories after today. So thank you again so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you Monday for Mission Possible. Bye, everybody.